which was how we were talking about how like guys have so much like societal expectations around them for like how they should live their lives, and none of it really benefits them. So it's like marriages. It's like you want to go off to college and get all this debt, work this job. It's even what we were talking about last night with how like guys will, before they even get to their prime, they're like programmed to like, okay, get married, do these things. They like box themselves into a life that they don't even want to live. And how it's just like the ability, I don't even know where it comes from, but that ability to, I guess, recognize the societal obligations and be able to take a different route in life and see it coming before it's too late. It's like this hugely important thing, because most guys, it's like it's too late for them in a lot of ways. Like they're $100,000 in debt, married with a kid at 28.
That's the too late point, is like debt.
Yeah, it's like you're cooked.
How do you see it coming?
How do you see it coming? That's the question. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, I feel like that's the thing that we have to teach people how to develop that. I don't know, because both of us obviously saw something coming. Is it like a pain point? Like, what made you get off of a normal life path?
I had the benefit of being addicted to YouTube at a young age and wanting to be a YouTuber. So for me, it was senior year. I was getting kind of groomed into the idea of, oh, you haven't picked a college yet? Oh, what are you going to major in? Oh, what path? And I was like, I'm going to be a physical therapist. Okay. And I remember Googling, like, oh, they make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, oh yeah, that's a good job. Eventually you can like get off at 4 or 3 instead of working 9 to 5. And I was like,
my gosh.
This is it, bro. I was like, this is the path. But I would cope and tell myself, well, no, YouTube's still because everyone has dreams growing up. Oh no, YouTube's still the plan A. This is the plan B. But when I'm spending 40 plus hours a week on plan B and 2 hours a week on plan A, it's kind of not how priorities work.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, just to get off the path of the college, I mean, it wasn't necessarily I wanted to be rich and famous and have power and influence and all these things. That was purely the college path and the path of comfort versus what I want to actually do with content. But that was definitely the first step.
That's exactly what happened for me then too. So that, I guess, is the formula, because I was like, the guidance counselor's always telling you, like, they show you that chart where it's like, here's how much money you make if you just have a high school diploma versus here's how much you have with college. They never tell you, like, but here's what the people who make all the money do. You know what I mean? So it's like, they'll be like, college educated people make $50,000 a year. High school's $35K. And so everyone, it's like they're pre-framing you again with this, the way they show the data to make you think, okay, I guess I should go to college. That's how they pre-frame the whole thing. And so that's what I did. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to go be an HR manager. Like, I don't know why the fuck I thought that was going to be a good idea. Like, I would be an awful HR manager. I'd be so bad.
Dude, you in HR?
Yeah, someone would come to me with their problem, I'd be like, can you just, like, please stop being a bitch?
Yeah.
Like, that would be my answer to everything. But, yeah, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll do this thing. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. Like, that was kind of the only thing I knew. And I was absolutely depressed by this, like, life path. I was like, I literally went on this, like, nihilistic tear where I just got drunk and high most nights for like a year and a half, because I was like, life's
college.
And it was right before. So I graduated high school, took a year where I was going to community college in my hometown before I left to go to a different college. And yeah, it was that period right there. So it was like about 18-month period there. That first year in my hometown college, then the first semester at this next college, I was like failing classes because I just didn't want to do it at all. And it really is that thing where if you don't have a future, then you do just live for the hedonistic pleasures in the moment. Because I was just like, well, fuck, like my life's going to suck. So I might as well just get drunk and high right now. That's all I know to do. And like, going to college, and honestly, shout out to Ty Lopez, was the guy that like I saw his stuff, like he's walking through this house talking about entrepreneurship, opening my mind to these possibilities and stuff like that. That was the catalyst for me to say, okay, there's a different path, there's a future I actually would want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's it. It's like having that content around us seems like that's the key to choosing a different life path, is you need different examples. And I guess that's what guys don't really have, is they don't have the examples around them on a day-to-day basis. Even like us here in Miami, we see different examples. We see there's like, oh wow, look how many pretty girls there are walking around. Look at the boats, look at the cars. Like every other car is a Rolls Royce or some shit here, and like you don't see those in like hometowns anywhere, you know. I guess it's just they don't have the vision put in their face. And maybe when they see it online, it feels like unaccessible. So they see an Andrew Tate, and whereas like I see an Andrew Tate and I genuinely am like, I want to be like that guy. And like, I'll do the work for it. Whereas I think other people watch it from this like voyeuristic kind of perspective where they're just watching him live his life and they don't feel like it's for them. It's almost something I've noticed, and maybe you know this, we were just talking about the Dark Knight stuff, is like people will watch movies, it seems like in two different ways. They'll watch the hero, but they'll watch it from the sideline. Or then they'll be like people like me, where I watch the movie and I'm like, this is trying to instruct me on like how I want to be in life. Not that I want to be Batman, but I want to be the hero in my life. And I think people, maybe they do that with the content as well. And so they just don't personalize all this stuff they get. But that is the key. You have to have, I guess, the vision to start with presented to you from somewhere.
And for you, Ty Lopez was like the gateway.
He was the gateway drug to self-improvement, I guess, for me. Yeah, even though he might be full of shit on some stuff, but nah, he really he was the first one that opened it up for me. And then Jordan Peterson came in and picked it up from there, I would say.
It's a crazy progression from Ty to JP.
I was like OG in the self-improvement stuff, I guess, because it was Ty Lopez. Grant Cardone was on like fire at this time. And then it was like his peak where he was getting most views. It was like back when YouTube, like you could literally just be walking around talking on an iPhone and just get views that way. And that's what he would be doing. Jordan Peterson had the low budget stuff in his classrooms, teaching lectures and stuff like that. Those guys were, they were the ones who I guess gave me the vision of a different way to live life.
So when you see your first Ty Lopez video, which thing was the vision? Was it, oh, this is a sick house? Oh, big bank account?
That's interesting.
What was the shift?
I think it was a combination of like, the normal life path we're offered is just so depressing on some level, where it's just like, fuck, like I got to go work this job I don't want to work. And like the role models around you, they're out of shape. Like you don't want their relationships, you don't want their marriages, all that stuff. Like to see him, he's in pretty good shape, but he's got the nice house. He's got this stuff, not even from a materialistic perspective, but just to be like, that's like cool. That looks like something you'd want to do. And then also the freedom element of it. I think the freedom element might have been the biggest one of all.
Freedom.
Yeah.
There's something to that where you say, oh, that's just cool. Because typically when people think of a Ty Lopez with the house or the Lamborghini or a Tay or these other guys, they think that you wanting to strive for that means you're just inherently hyper egotistic and materialistic. When it's like, typically that's to cover up insecurities. And we both we're probably rampant with insecurities in those, when we had those similar eras, but also it's just cool in terms of, oh, that would be a better experience with life than I'm currently in, and I can only do this life thing once. Why wouldn't I strive for that instead of staying right here? But it's the shift that's required to realize that you can, whereas like most people aren't. I think it was a little different for me because you know the story, but I go down to Houston in 2019, because I grew up in North Texas. I go down. Yeah,
should we do an intro for you real quick? So they're like, who is this guy talking? Like, tell them who you are, and then go back to your story.
I'm Kenny Bender. I am I don't even want to say personal development. I'm just a creator. Like I just make YouTube videos. I've been making YouTube videos since I was 12 years old, and I got the first little iPod, 4th generation, when it first had a camera, like 480p. I just had a passion for it, and I didn't know what was out there in terms of opportunities or anything. So all I knew based on my limited lens of reality was like, oh, there's people online that just make videos all the time and somehow they make it a living. Mm-hmm. But it didn't click for me until down the line, where I stopped making content for a little bit. It was gaming at the time. And then I stopped in high school because kids were making fun of me. I started caring more about girls and, oh, you need to make good grades for school and whatnot. So I stopped for 2 years. And then, I think I've told this to you, I'm with my girl at her house and I'm showing her my old gaming videos, and she's like, oh, that's so funny, huh? And I'm watching them. I just remember like, I couldn't even control, like a wave of emotion rips over me, and like a tear like starts to go down my face, and I turn my head so she can't see it. And I was like, why am I upset? What's going on? I was like, oh, I let him down because he had this dream and this life he wanted. And I fell back into the regular path, like the mudslide. The moment you stop trying to walk up this mountain, the slide pulls you back down into that rivet. It pulled me back in. And from that moment, I was like, I'm going to start making content again. And at that point, all I really had was fitness because I was the skinny, insecure kid. Got into fitness. I was like, I guess I'll vlog myself doing fitness. And I would watch a lot of the Gymshark athletes and the Christian Guzmans of the world and whatnot. Fast forward to 2019, I graduated. I'm still on the regular path, going to school, summer semester, then first semester. And my friend hits me up and he's like, yo, Gymshark's having this pop-up event in Houston. We should go. And I was so introverted. I was like, yeah, we should. But I was like, I don't know. And he's like, oh, the tickets they were free tickets. So they sold out instantly. I was like, oh, dang. Just by chance, he's scrolling on Twitter and he searches it. He's like, this girl's selling the tickets for $5. We can go to the last day if we get the tickets and leave tomorrow morning. So we go. And up until this point, like I was saying earlier, it was like the plan B. Like I said, it was the plan A. YouTube was the plan B. Because even then, like watching the creators, kind of like you were watching Ty and stuff, I was watching these guys that just lifted weights and made videos for a living, made cool cinematic stuff. I would watch like a David Lade, but then I would also watch a Smosh, and I would also watch a bunch of big gaming creators. And I was just like, I love this, but because there was this separation of the screen, I felt like there was something different from the reality they were in and the reality I was in. But then we go to the event, and just by chance, we go to the gym, Alpha Elite Gym, at the same time the Gymshark guys come up before the event the next day. And the moment I saw, it was David Lade actually. It's David Lade, James English, who I later ended up working with, and some other YouTubers. But it was the first time seeing big YouTubers in real life. It clicked. I was like, oh, wait, you can actually do this. These are real people, and they're just people. I still like probably put them on a pedestal in my mind, but seeing them physically in the flesh, I was like, oh, this is something I can actually do. And my actions do not reflect someone who truly believes it's something they could do. It reflects someone who wants to kind of cope and like think he's doing this because it's cool and makes them different from other people. But 2 to 4 hours a week working on something isn't much. Right. And that was my first perspective shift of, oh, I can be a creator. I wasn't thinking about making a lot of money. I wasn't thinking about my impact on the world, helping a lot of people. It was just kind of like my lens zoomed out just a little bit, It was like full, like this lens, like punched in at 70 millimeters. It pulled out to like 55 millimeters. And I was like, oh, I could actually do this. So that's when I dropped out and started pursuing it. But it took a couple more years to really open my lens and realize what's truly possible. And even to this day, sometimes I need to zoom back out and remember. That's why we're in Miami right now.
Yeah, that's like important. I feel like eye opener for guys too is when it clicks in your head that it's actually possible for you, like that, like you're saying. And I feel like we've been talking about this recently, is how we just keep figuring out like all these people are just human, just like us. But when you get to see them, because I had that same thing when I went to Houston. And seeing these people in person, I was just like, they're just working out in the gym just like me. But what you said also there about pretending like you're serious about doing it, that was something that I was so bad at for a long time. And you don't even realize you're doing it. And for the people watching, you're probably the same way, because you're like telling yourself you're trying, and you don't even know what trying's like. And until we did the 12 by 30, I'm not even sure if we knew what trying really looks like. Like we were getting there. It's almost like the last few months have been like a progression of us figuring out more and more what actually going for it looks like. Yeah.
I was like realizing things were possible. And then 2022 was when I started to like think about money, I guess, because before then I was getting paid a $2,000 a month salary to be a videographer and video editor. And I made an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month doing I had a revenue share with the creator I was working with. So I got 50% of the ad revenue. But 2022 was like, oh, I can make a lot more money and actually have a nice life experience compared to buying my groceries at Walmart and living in this $1,000 a month apartment, splitting it with my girl, and she's having to work jobs she doesn't want to do to help pay her half and all these things. But even then, in the work, it's just, I say this over and over, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how much work is actually required to get where you want to be. And until you either eat shit and like back to the wall and then forced to work that hard, which the truth is most people will never be in that position. I think that's kind of the tragedy. That's why you hear all these like rappers or artists or actors or businessmen, and they're like, yeah, I was literally homeless, or I was addicted to heroin, or my girl left me, or I was in the slum, so they had no choice but to move up and like crawl out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas most people, especially like us in the West, we're born to like decently comfortable, middle level, like low, even lower class is comfortable. Like you can afford food and like survive and whatnot. Yeah. So we were both working at that kind of rate, slowly ramping up our intensity and our focus and our clarity. And then even then we had that voice in the other room that was telling us, you're not working hard enough. Yeah. Like something with it, I don't know, it could be God, it could be your subconscious, like your true self-image, how you perceive yourself is like, you're still not doing all that's required. Yeah. And something's telling you that also, like reality reflects it because you don't have the results that you want. Yeah. Like you're doing these things, especially when it's like a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, of like, I'm doing these things and everything is taking way longer than I thought it would. What's going on? Yeah. And then we decided, hey, let's try this 12 by 30 thing. Yeah. And within a couple of days, we're like, oh, yeah, this is what's required. Yeah. At least that's how I felt.
No, I agree. And for those who don't know, the 12 by 30 was this challenge that we did. I found it from an Alex Hormozy video, and Alex was saying that you should work 12 hours a day for 30 days straight just to prove that you can do it. And I was like, I was almost kind of like nervous to do it, but I was like, I feel like we need to do this. And so we took January and we literally did it. We did 12 hours a day for 30 days straight. And we both got huge progress as far as clarity, as far as just external results, things like that. You've had your highest viewed YouTube video in a while.
Dude, you had your highest month of revenue.
I had my highest income month, doubled it. Yeah, you had a really high income month as well. Like everything was picking up, and it's just, when you look at it, it just makes sense. But we do all this bullshit to try and like act like the work. Like there's so much in the self-improvement space, especially, where it's just all designed to try and convince you that you don't have to work. Like the whole self-improvement industry is built around hacks or work smarter, not harder kind of bullshit like that. When in reality, it's like, it really is just action. You have to do shit a lot. And people like, I think the 40-hour work week has also made people not realize like what hard work looks like. They think the 40-hour work week is hard work. It's not.
Gonna ruffle some feathers with that take.
Yeah, but it's true. Like 40 hours a week is not hard. And then most people who are doing 40 hours a week, you know, I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, yeah, like I enjoy watching your videos at work. I'm like, I appreciate that, but like if you are able to watch my videos while you're working, then I promise you're not working that hard when you're even at your job. And you know, maybe you're driving from, you know, a job site to a job site, fair enough. But like, I mean, I just, you know, I've seen these office people, and I'll even ask them sometimes, like, realistically, how many hours a day are you actually working? And they'll be like, yeah, maybe 6.
They ran a study, it's 3. It's 3 hours.
Okay. So like, yeah. And so of course somebody's going to say 6.
The average work per day in terms of America is 8.8 hours. It's not because the study, that data is from the US, and then the 3-hour thing's from the UK, but like we're both like Western people for the most part. And then the UK study, it was like 2.8 or 2.9 hours a day of truly, by definition, productive work. Everything else is just nonsense.
That's incredible. Yeah. And then so just, I mean, even if you actually did 40 hours, then you'd be ahead. But then if you do 12 by 30, the way we did, that's 84 hours a week of work. Realistically, I'd say probably 8 to 9 of those hours each day were really moving the ball forward. The other 3, 4 were like getting into it, figuring it out, getting over resistance and things like that. So you think like 8 times, 7's 56, right? 56 hours a week of actual work versus the average person's doing 3 hours, 5 days a week. That's 15. It just makes sense that you get ahead like that. But the whole self-improvement space is built around stuff like, oh, you can just work 2 hours a day, or you can do this hack, or find this like get rich quick scheme thing, which get rich quick schemes are another thing we were talking. This just doesn't make sense, because if everybody wants to get rich, what makes you think there's some path out there that would make it easy? Like if everybody wants it, of course it's going to be hard.
The only get rich quick scheme is teaching other people how to get rich quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally it.
Yeah, I could work 2 hours a day if my whole shtick was telling other people you can work 2 hours a day, buy my course.
Yeah.
the thing is, and I don't want to teeter too hard, and you need to fucking work 16 hours a day regardless, because there's certain seasons and phases where you actually can work like, I'm not going to say 2. That's bullshit. Maybe 2 hours a day of the highest lever thing, but like you got to do like 4 to 5 hours a day most likely, even to maintain a decently profitable business, and in order to maintain your self-improvement, or maintain your fitness. Yeah. But you're working a 9 to 5 and you can't get out of it. Okay, yes. Then you need to just carve out 1 to 2 hours of your days and maybe a couple extra on the weekend, and you can make a ton of progress if you learn how to focus. And you have no freedom, because you're either a slave to the employer, you go home, you're a slave to your distractions. So when you go to war with your distractions and war against resistance, what you have to do is carve out just enough time to carve out just enough freedom to then use that freedom as leverage to unlock more freedom down the line. Yeah. And then eventually, if you can just like get out of a regular job or get out of school or your parents' house or whatever fucking situation you're in, everyone's situations is different. Then it's like, okay, do I want to kind of just keep this going and slowly grow, or do I want to build and enter a building season where, it is 8+ hours a day, but then you build something to a certain level, all of a sudden that thing now just requires 2 to 4 hours a day to maintain. Yeah. And it's like, how far do you want to keep going? Do you want to work, like grind, like go all in on a couple hands and get your money and just kind of cash out and go to the register and leave the fucking casino? Or do you want to double down and keep pushing it all back in? Yeah. Everyone's answer is different. Everyone has different numbers and different levels of comfort, but that's like the honest truth. Like anyone who's telling you 4-hour work weeks, you can work 2 hours a day, you can work 4 hours a day, this, that, and the other. The reason they're doing that now and can make $1 million a year doing it, it isn't the thing that's going to get you to $1 million a year. Yeah. And I think that's where the morality question comes into play on like all these gurus that say that, because everyone says it because it just sounds sexy, and like people are inherently lazy. So if you want to make self and personal development content, success content for the masses, you're catering to mediocrity. Yeah. Well, because most people aren't going to be exceptional. And so it really is just, it's a pitch of like, I imagine most of these guys who make those kinds of programs and things, they're like, they know most people aren't going to actually come through on it. And they're probably just like, whatever, not my problem kind of thing. Because they're just making it for the masses. And it's almost like that's just the business model of it, I guess. But yeah. There's also the idea that now in theory, if you knew how to truly focus and be productive, I hate the word productive and productivity, but I can't think of a better thing, but truly be high leverage and pull that lever for 2 to 4 hours a day, you can make insane progress. But even me pre 12 by 30, and even now, I'm not fully figured that out yet. I don't think really anyone's really figured out, except for the most elite people. So because your output is just inherently lower, because your mental capacity is inherently lower, you actually do have to put in more hours, because the average person's 8 hours is the hyper efficient, hyper effective person's 2 hours. Yeah. That's a whole nother thing that people won't talk about. Like, the guy, I only work 2 to 4 hours a day, but they don't understand that guy's operating a whole different level than the average person. It's like, oh, you want to have the same, you want to match his output where you're at right now without doing like the personal development, the self-improvement required, the mindset shit, the focus shit required. Then you gotta do 8 to 12 hours to match his too. It's almost like with compounding on things, if you have $1 million and it compounds at 6% per year, that's $60,000. If you have $1,000 and it compounds at 6%, that's $60. You're never going to catch the guy at $1 million if you're at 1,000 with the same compounding rate. So you have to do something to speed it up. And so, that's the thing. And like the thing is, like, nobody really wants to like work 12 hours per day for the rest of their lives, I don't think. And so everybody goes through that phase where they're working really hard, and then they get up to where the compounding is working for them and they can take their foot off the gas some, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that leaves the door open for the next group of people to get up and catch up to them. Yeah. But if those guys, if you're listening to them and it's like Hormozy says this, he says, don't listen to what these people do now, listen to what they did when they were coming up. Because like Jeff Bezos, it's like you've seen the picture of him at Amazon in the OG days. Like he was working his ass off every day. He wasn't on rockets when he was making Amazon. Like Elon Musk. But then Musk, the clip now, have you seen where, and it went viral and everyone was like, see guys, it's okay to like do, because now Bezos on Friedman, I think. So he was like, what's your morning routine look like now? What's your day look like now? And Bezos like, oh, I just kind of wake up and putter around, have a coffee, check the news, take a shower, eat some food, whatever. And then I go into work and it was like, see guys, you don't have to listen to this hustle culture shit. It's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
no, he built the thing. He's good. He built the thing. You need to build. You need to go look at what they were doing. And like Bezos was a dog, Musk was a dog, Steve Jobs was a dog. They were all dogs.
Yeah. Everybody who's made something of themselves, they had to have that phase. Like LeBron James, even the best athletes and all them, they were in the gym in the early days of their career. They didn't have the business ventures until later on. Like Floyd Mayweather, his work ethic was insane. It wasn't until later on they started building his own things, and like Canelo Alvarez, all these guys, they're that same way. It's kind of like we were talking about this as well with like knowledge versus action and stuff, and we were both like, I feel like we actually know everything we need to know. We just need to take action a lot, but then you want to just keep learning stuff. It is like huge action phase until you feel like you're like, okay, I got this thing to a capacity, and now it's like, how can I do this more efficient so I can open up more time to go find the new, I guess, data sets that are going to help you get to the next work phase where you take it to the next level again.
Every time in my life, every period in my life where I started regressing was the moment that knowledge acquisition outpaced action.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you get just as much, if not more, dopamine from the knowledge acquisition than the action, and the action's the gay part that no one wants to fucking do.
Yeah, nobody wants to do it.
But I've never had a phase where pure knowledge acquisition works because you just don't remember it. I think it would only work maybe if you're spamming business books, psychology books, Tony Robbins books, self-help books, whatever, constantly, and you're flooding. It's like you're pouring, there's like a little bit of oil in a cup, and you start pouring so much water in it that eventually the oil kind of seeps out and the cup is saturated with water. But no one can actually do that.
I don't even know if that even works. Like, you might be able to remember it for a test, but does it get deep enough in to cause behavior change until you've acted?
It would just take, it's one of those things where, yes, over an extreme period of time, that looking back, it will look silly where, oh, I should just take an action a month in instead of 2 years later.
Yeah. How many guys have probably watched hundreds of videos on the best texting lines, the best this, the best that, and like have gone nowhere because it's like they're like, yeah, but what do I say when I talk to her? It's like, you watched hundreds of videos. Like, the issue is you still have not taken action. You have to go take some action, and then you'll know what to say. Same with like business stuff. It's like, you just have to take action on all this stuff, and it just starts to click. And then if you can you're taking action, then intermittently just keep reminding yourself of the right stuff. That's that ultimate combination of like, you're doing it in real life and getting reminded of the keys from the people who are ahead of you in the game. I feel like that's the fastest progression way you can do in anything, in fitness, in business, in whatever you're trying to improve on.
Yeah, because knowledge in itself, you're outsourcing all of your knowledge and inputs, but you're not actually getting feedback from any of it. So it's also one of those things where some things that work for other people aren't going to work for you, and you're not going to know it doesn't work for you until you go out into the world, take action, and get feedback. Like, oh, I built this website and no one's clicking on it. Oh, I made these YouTube videos and no one's clicking on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, I started this business, it flopped. Up until that point, when it's just this idea in your mind and you're masturbating over it and you're reading all this information, it's just like, oh, this is foolproof. It's 100%, because the world hasn't handed you a platter of shit to eat yet, because you haven't sat at the dining table. Yeah.
Knowledge and wisdom are two completely different things. Wisdom is like applied knowledge, and then you get real feedback that allows you to understand it. It also leads to the idea of having mentors and coaches, which guys will love to, and I've done this. Truthfully, I've always been fine spending money on like coaching and things like that, but like watching all the free stuff, like, I'll just go find the information for free online. It's like, but it doesn't come with the person who can sit there and tell you, no, do this thing. Like, I could go watch boxing videos and probably not get anywhere. But if I go do a one-on-one session with my coach, who's like, your footwork sucks here, fix this, do it over and over and over again until you get it. We're going to just drill this thing because you're still not getting it. Like, that's the, that's the knowledge that actually really gets applied quickly, rather than read a book, or it's just the easy stuff. It's the difference from that easy stuff. It's a lot harder to check your ego or spend the money and get the coaching and the mentorship that's actually going to get you ahead. It almost begs a question of like, how much do people actually want to change versus how much, like we were talking about earlier, do people want to pretend like they want to be that life? They're LARPing as if they're this kind of person. You know, it's just fun to say this stuff. I've heard people say this about like, you know, TradCon stuff or stuff with Israel or things like that. They'll be like, it's fun to say these things, but do you actually like take them seriously? Because they're real things behind them. There's real issues behind, you know, the more, I guess, the conservative, like right-wing kind of ideas about the way life should live. And people like, they'll LARP like TradCons or something like that. There's all that shit on the internet. And I don't even really feel like I'm much of a TradCon, but just an example of it. Or people like to play roles. They like to pretend to be like, I know the truth about things. But it's like, yeah, but you're not acting on it. It's like, you know the truth about the evil system, but you're still jerking off to Pornhub and eating seed oils. Or, you know, it's like, or, oh, I know the system's screwed about the 9 to 5, but it's like, you still work a 9 to 5. And like, if you got to do that for a time, fine. But it's like, you don't even have a plan to get out of it. You're watching Hormozy videos, like LARPing as a business owner, but it's like you drive Uber.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you're not a business owner. You're not actually doing the thing.
Dude, Uber is entrepreneur, bro. Self-employed. What do you mean?
Oh my gosh. I had I talked to the guy I used to work for who owned the UPS stores about this. I was like, yeah, you'll see like Uber drivers and they'll say they're entrepreneurs and like hustlers and all that. And he was like, yeah, like he said, like, I'm an actual entrepreneur. I can't even say that to anybody because it's just been so watered down at this point.
Yeah.
And he owned like multiple physical businesses.
Yeah, I see it a lot on Instagram. They'll put entrepreneur in their title, I guess.
I did that shit Instagram when I was young, yeah.
And it's like, I'm an entrepreneur. I've seen this in the fitness industry. I'm an entrepreneur. It looks like you just post yourself basically naked and sell a collagen supplement that a real entrepreneur made and is giving you a commission for it.
You have an affiliate.
You haven't made anything or provided value to the world besides a mouthpiece, a marketing tool for a real entrepreneur.
Yeah. I feel like if you don't have... What is like even the bar to be an entrepreneur? Do you have to have an LLC or do you have to have something you can sell?
I'm going to Google it. It's funny. I don't know. I just thought it was like business owner.
And people think because they've got a
definition.
Yeah. People think because they've got like it's like you're a contractor. You're a contractor. Put contractor in your Instagram bio, not entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur yet.
It reminds me of when Amon Geji was just having his like psyop to all the 16-year-olds and Indian guys and whoever in the world into thinking they need to start an agency. And I would see them like, oh, I own an agency. It's just you. You're just a contractor. You're just a freelancer. An agency is a team of people. You don't have an agency.
Yeah.
You are doing all the work yourself. You're a freelancer. I was a freelancer. I didn't say I was an entrepreneur when I was making videos and editing for another creator. I was a freelancer.
Yeah.
I was a contractor. I got paid a $10.99 from another company.
Yeah.
The definition of entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so.
Yeah, you didn't take on any financial risk to work for DoorDash.
Yeah. Watching one copywriting video on YouTube and then spamming out emails and DMs saying you're a copywriter, give me money and I'll write your emails. I don't know if that is that a business? I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a business. Yeah. That dude, that's another one with like going back to, I guess, the work required and people just aren't doing the work. And this is every time I just keep getting reminded of this when I see people, I'm like, oh, like this guy's got this weakness or he's got this weakness. Like everybody's really just around here fucking up. There aren't that many like real people out here like really working. It's like I'll see it with these kinds of things too. Just, I mean, you get it more than me with like from your YouTube stuff is like the number of fucking people who get in your inbox who act like they're pros at this shit and like they're worse than you at it. And it's like, I will edit your videos and you're better at editing than they are.
Yeah. Dude, I'm this generalist. I'm like a specialized generalist where I know video editing pretty well. I know speaking decent. I know script writing decently. I know landing pages, marketing, content creation, all this stuff decently. But it's like that's like 5+ things. And then I'll get an email from someone who says they specialize in one thing and maybe it's writing. And I read their email and I'm like, I'm better than you at writing.
Yeah.
This is your one thing. You're a specialist and you're not even good at it.
Yeah.
It's like you're screwed.
Yeah.
ChatGPT will write better than you.
Yeah. It's like they're like, yeah, they just want to just do the bare fucking minimum.
To be fair, they're taking action.
Yeah, they are taking action. I give them that. And maybe it is that thing where, it's like you're saying, they don't know what they don't know. People, we just don't.
It always, I wanted to say that earlier. I don't remember where we were at, but it's literally always, it was when we were talking about people that say, I can learn it all online. Yeah, but you don't know what you're supposed to know.
Yeah.
You don't know. It's like, sure, there's every course out there. Could you, in theory, Google and learn everything within a course, or everything that a coach or a mentor will tell you, or everything that the seminar will teach you? Yes. Okay, then what do you Google? They don't fucking know. Yeah. Because you don't know. You don't know until it's categorized into a certain thing from that mentor, from that program, from that creator. So it's like, until that point, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like, imagine instead of sending people to like high school or something like that, we just had them Google it. It's like, just Google what you need to know. And like, who would even think of math? Like, you had to be introduced to math as an idea, like, or language.
You know what? You would, if you didn't know that calculus existed, you would never know to Google how to learn calculus.
Yeah.
Someone had to tell you, hey, you need to learn calculus. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like the people that we talk to in Audience Alchemy. It's like, hey, you need to go learn this thing for hooks, or hey, you need to go learn this thing about brand, or hey, you need to learn this thing about the story structure. Stop saying and in your story. Say but or therefore. Little things like that.
Yeah.
And then they didn't know that. They literally never would have learned that. Or if they would have learned that, it would have been years and years and years down the line, where by the grace of God, they stumbled across an article or a video or a conversation where someone tells them that.
Yeah.
Or you can just get it up front and pull the future into the present through, it's knowledge acquisition, but you're ideally taking action on it.
Yeah, it's knowledge applied that then gets the result. But yeah, it's like I've said, like, the biggest thing that keeps people from success is simply the mindset change. It's the delay in the mindset that has to develop. And we're going back to almost where we started with the leaving our kind of like old worldview that was fed to us, and that kind of idea of how life should be lived. It's like this humongous long journey to like deprogram that mindset and instill the mindset of somebody who's actually going to like crush it in life, who can think for themselves, who's not just going to go for the, classic, like, let's just get married to the first girl who's like shows us any interest. Let's just get debt from college and get this job and live this life. It takes, like, for me, I feel like, and I probably still am not all the way there, but it's taken me 7 years to get to where I genuinely feel like I'm like, that guy who I used to be is just completely different human being to me, like, full stop.
Was there any, and then some people say, like, people will hear the 7 years and it terrifies them. Yeah. It
gets better over time.
Right.
That's where it's like, people are like, where was the one thing? There was no one thing. It's just the progressive chipping away at it, like a sculptor, I guess, like with a block of marble. And yes, it'll terrify them. But and I guess the good news to it is, like, the thing starts to hockey stick and it just picks up speed. Because you get quicker, like, I guess where Moses talks about it with the feedback loops. You get quicker feedback loops. You know more of the game. You know more of what's going on, and so you can course correct quicker. You're a lot less emotional is one of the big ones. Like, you don't get so like fucked up when something doesn't go your way. You're just used to it and just like very numb to it, and so you can adapt quicker. Like, your stress tolerance goes up, I feel like. So yeah, it gets easier, but it does feel like it was about a 7-year complete metamorphosis.
Is there ways to expedite that, or do you feel like people just have to kind of go through that period?
The expediting it is the mentorship. That to me is the only way to expedite it. And even then, it's like, you have to have a mentor, but we know guys who have mentors who still do whatever the fuck they want to do.
I am the mentor to these guys.
Yeah,
that won't do what I say.
We've literally both been it. Like, I'll see somebody who has like been watching my content forever and has applied none of it. And I'm like, how is that? Like, okay, you haven't gained anything. You're LARPing. Like, back to that. You're LARPing as a self-improvement person. You're LARPing as an alpha male. You're LARPing as this person, but you're living the normal life path. Yeah, it's a mentor that you have the humility to listen to. That's the only way to speed it up. And if you do that, that's like Andrew Tate would say this with his boxing coach. He'd be like, I just did whatever the fuck the guy told me to do. And he became a 4-time world champion kickboxer. that humility. And yeah, it's hard for me to do that. We were talking about this the other night. Like I have a huge ego about this kind of shit where like it's hard for me to not posture like I'm the man, I guess. But you have to, because like if Hormozy came in here, if I did anything but shut the fuck up and just listen or ask a question, it would be just stupid for me to do it. Me trying to throw in my little thing that I know about business to Alex Hormozy would be retarded. Yeah.
Imagine you're having a conversation with Hormozy and you just throw in a little something to act like, he'd be like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Oh my gosh.
And I would feel that impulse. I'd be like, I figured out first principles about businesses. Yeah. He even talked about this. He was like, I used to do this thing where I wanted to look smart to people. And then he said, finally, I realized you gain nothing from being the smartest person in the room.
People don't like you.
Yeah.
Who is that? It's the philosopher.
Socrates with the questioning, Socratic reasoning.
It was a more modern philosopher, but one of his core ideas is like society actually doesn't like smart people. Like a decent amount. Like they don't like the highly intelligent. It benefits you no way to try to intellectually posture yourself in a group, because everyone they'll resent you the same way. The prettiest girl in high school is resented by all the other girls. Yeah. Whereas all the mid-level girls and lower-level girls, they're all accepted and mingle and whatnot. Yeah. But the prettiest girl, all the other girls low-key hate her. Yeah. It's the same with like the smartest person, everyone low-key hates them.
To be an exception, that's what happens, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if you want to get in you're in rooms with people that you're there to learn and gain value from. And it's different. There's one thing where if you see a way to provide value to them, by all means, you should do that. Like that's just human nature, reciprocity, whatever. Not even in a transactional way, and just helping others, because eventually, good karma, God, whatever you want to say, it'll come back around. But that's different than saying, oh yes, well I just implemented this in my business, or oh yes, well, I know this about content. Like imagine I'm in a room with Mr. Beast, like, oh yeah, I just had this video that for 500,000 views. Mr. Beast would be like, why'd you tell me that? Yeah. You think I fucking care?
Yeah, he'd be like, yeah, like it just wouldn't even register. You know what I mean?
Just slide off.
Does so, yeah. And I don't think people even realize just how many places where they're doing those kinds of things. It really is. It's like I remember I showed you that guy that sent me the message on Instagram that I had to he asked me for advice, and I sent him that
the chapter book for him.
Yeah, and I had to
just send him Harry Potter.
Yeah, like I had to tear him up, because it was just like I was like, this kid has no idea how stupid he sounds right now.
He reciprocated, right? He was like grateful for it.
Yeah, he was grateful for it after I gave him the feedback he needed to hear. But it's just like, that's that mindset shit. That's the kind of stuff you just don't know it. Like you don't even know you should address somebody by your name because you're so used to, hey man. It's like, who the fuck are you talking to? Hey, bro, you don't even know me, and I am not on your level. You are beneath me. Like, not in like a godly way, but like on the totem pole of life. I have progressed past you 20-year-old shithead in college. You got to know your rank. Don't just come up to me, hey, bro, I want this from you. You know what I mean?
Like when you walk, like you're meeting someone for the first time, you know nothing about him, you have no connections to him, and you go for like a dap.
Yeah.
Like instead of a handshake, like, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, yo, what up, brother? Yeah.
I mean, I had, this is where the mindset shit, like I feel bad for this kid. He might even watch this video. Like he was a coaching client of mine I had a few years ago. And he was in the situation, he had a single mother he was living with. He was trying, but it was just like his whole thing was just so much self-sabotage just because of all this stuff he was doing wrong that he didn't even realize he was doing. And like one of them, I was like, you need to shave your like dreads, because he had these like ridiculous dreads and he wanted to have some like professional job. I was like, you just don't look like a professional. I don't even think I told him shave the dreads. He asked me, and I was like, he was like, I was thinking, should I do this? And I was like,
permission.
Yeah, he wanted permission. I was like, and I was like, yeah, I think you should. And he said, my mother is a Black Panther, and she says that I should keep them because it's a sign of my like heritage. And I was like, this is the type of shit guys are getting fed. Like his mindset's just fucked. Look at his role model, some flat, broke, in debt Black Panther lady telling him to keep his dreads and be fucking poor. You know, it's like he's cooked. Like what? And like he needs those mentors to tell him. So like I helped him out. I hope he did it. I hope he took action. I think he's doing better at this point in life. But yeah, that's that mindset shit. Like he's just got all these horrible influences in his head And a lot of guys are like that. We're all, nobody's really given the perfect mindset. That's the only thing I want to give my kid is just the bulletproof mentality. He doesn't need an inheritance other than that. The ultimate inheritance is the mindset of a G, pretty much.
Yeah.
If you rolled up at like 18 like that would be so sick.
Is that the only, because clearly there's disparages. Clearly there's people who have to fucking eat shit until they're 30. And then I know people that they were winning at 17 years old. So what is the difference between those? Is it all like nurture? Is there something epigenetic about it, you think? I have theories, but
my theory, I guess, on that is it's hard to say at a broad level. Some people, it's like money's a great like perfume for a lot of other things, and so it could be like, man, this guy's got it all figured out because he's rich, and so therefore he's got clothes, he's got time for a personal trainer he can hire and all this kind of stuff, and so like the rest of your life looks a lot more put together than it otherwise would. But maybe it's just the money that's kind of carrying you. I don't know. But it's definitely like the mindset that you can get, again, because if your parents act as mentors for you, if they're good mentors for you, then you're going to have a head start on someone who had a bad mentor. And it's harder to unlearn bad mentoring than it is to just be a blank slate and then get taught good mentoring. So like a lot of people, they are starting at a disadvantage. Everybody still has to play the game from the position they're at on the board. But that would probably be my biggest one on it, is just simply like some people had better mentoring. It's not that your parents are bad. It's just they did the best they could, but some people just knew shit that other ones didn't,
Yeah. I agree with that. And for me, the best like heuristic I developed was probability instead of luck, and like replacing luck for my vocabulary with probability. So I'll see someone like, oh wow, he got rich at 18 years old. Okay, based on where he was born, the experiences that just so happened to happen to him, his parents, his father, business opportunities, all that. Okay, so when he was 18 years old, his probability of success might be 70%. And then based on me, when I was at 18 years old, my probability of success was 27%. Yeah. I can't do anything about the probability. So why should I even think about it? Why should I even care? Like, all I can do is, okay, my probability is this. I know that I can raise it, channel all of my focus and care into that, and emotionally invest in that, instead of like, oh, but he made it at 20 and I got to make it at 35 and all this nonsense.
That brings up the whole thing of like people obsessing over the outcome as the thing, rather than it's like, we've actually all been blessed with the opportunity to make progress in life, which is what we really want. And, it's easy to say if you're not starving, because if you're starving, that sucks. But like beyond base survival needs, which
the moment you get out of the base of Maslow's hierarchy,
the moment you get out of the base, then it's literally like everybody's pretty much on the same level, in that we're all just trying to progress from whatever point we're at on the board. And somebody might be ahead of you, but that's also where the 12 by 30 kind of thing comes in. You can outwork them because they probably have less incentive than you to work hard. Most people who, their parents got them into a good college, and now they're in private equity or some shit like that. Like, they're working, but are they working that hard? Because it just all got handed to them. And maybe they had good mindsets because they understood about credit and finance and all these kinds of stuff, which gives them that leg up. This is where I was talking about with those people who, it's like, I know a few of them who they're doing well financially, and it masks the fact that they're kind of incompetent people otherwise, just because they're like in banking, and so they make $150,000 a year and feel like they're doing good in life, and they can spend money on this and this, and they've got a social life because they went to college and the thing was paid for, and they already had this social life they were in based on like they were just in a good situation, and basically all fronts they had a head start. And so it looks like it's like, man, this person must have just had all this stuff given to them, like mentally their mindset must be so far ahead of yours. It's like, maybe not. They might just know a few pieces in the game that other people don't know, but you can learn those, and then you have all these other things they don't have, and you can pass them.
And would you say that the most important thing of those things you could have would be a mindset?
Yeah, the mindset. I think
I wanted to circle back to that, because the thing is, when we throw around the term mindset, is that eyes are gonna roll
Mm-hmm.
because everyone says mindset, and a lot
Yeah.
of gurus say mindset. I saw a meme the other day, and it was like when you buy a course or when you buy a coaching program in the first module, when you buy
mindset,
it's
yeah.
mindset
Yeah.
on business, and like, oh, and it's like they don't understand that. No, you literally need the mindset. Like the guy who made this program is a fucking messiah for the fact that he put a mindset
Mm-hmm.
modules in your business program, in your business mentorship, because he knows otherwise you would flop. And he could leave that out. I've taken programs where they don't talk anything about mindset or how to deal with it or anything. And then when the students fail, the guy who runs it, the guru or whatever, is just like, well, they should have just been smarter. Oh, they just didn't have the mind. Like they literally was like, oh, they just didn't have the mindset stuff. But the issue is because of this kind of, it's almost satirical like hustle culture in the meme where it's like, oh, it's just the mindset, bro. It's just the mindset, bro. People's eyes start to roll, and I understand that from a Gen Z perspective, and hearing that a lot brought up, even my eyes would roll when people say that shit, because it almost seems like a cop out from actually defining what got you where you are. So when we say mindset, how do we clarify to those listening, even to ourselves, to really understand what we mean when we say mindset?
It's almost like a state of consciousness or something. Like it's like people will be like, oh, it's the mindset. No, it really is the mindset. Like, and I just don't, like, I'm trying to think, I guess it's like, it's not, because when people think mindsets, they think hacks. That's the problem with the mindset thing. They think of they think it's this hacky thing. It's like, no, it's like, it's literally the way you see the entire world. Your immediate reaction to things, how out of everything you could be paying attention to in any situation, it's like, what was the focus? It's the average person goes into a store and they just think about what they want to buy, versus the person with the business mindset goes in and sees all the things the business is doing right, wrong. What can I learn and take and apply to my business? It's the guy who...
Yeah, so they're literally entering with a different mindset,
yes,
and they're seeking out things that are building on that mindset versus somebody who's just kind of passively navigating every experience through life.
So it's literally the way you see the world, I suppose, is the mindset, your immediate reactions, your beliefs about yourself. Like, you know, two people run into a challenge in a business. One of them complains, one of them just doesn't. Literally, the idea of complaining doesn't even enter their mind. They're just like, okay, solve the problem. You know, that's an example of a mindset that occurs, but it's all almost built around, a self-image, I guess, like an identity that just handles things in certain ways, sees things in certain ways. You know, the one who sees the Ferrari and gets inspired versus getting jealous and say, it must be nice, or he got lucky, or blah, blah, blah. It's the difference between wanting a 4-hour work week because your philosophy in life is I just want to chill and sit around jerking off all day, versus like, no, I want to work every day because I want to get ahead and I believe in purpose. It's like, that's another example of it, is like purpose versus I just want to sit around doing nothing. And viewing hard work as rewarding. It all comes back to all of those are like mini mindsets that encompass the entire thing. And maybe the reason people think mindsets are kind of hacky is because you can't just give somebody one. It's a compounding thing. It's like, if you just give somebody one, that's great. You teach somebody to not be jealous and rather be inspired by success and want some of it for themselves. That's great. That'll help them. But that alone is not the mindset. It's that plus 1,000 other things, and even the stuff that's going into your head on a daily basis that you're listening to, that's going to, again, affect the, like when I was driving here yesterday, I was talking about how in driving to Miami, I was just like, you know what, like, honestly, my brain, I just kind of want to cut it off right now. Let's just put on some of this. I put on this political stuff. I was just listening to news and things like that. And I just immediately felt my brain just felt fried. I was like, my IQ dropped 20 points on this drive. I was like, I got to put something else on. I had to go put it, and immediately my entire perspective on things changed when I switched over to a business podcast with Hormozy. And now I'm thinking about stuff I can do for my business. I'm thinking about different ideas. I'm improving myself. My entire self-image changes. Like because even just the stuff they'll say in these kinds of videos, like one of the videos I listened to, the reason when I knew I was like, I have to cut this off, is the guy was talking about, it was a political one. He was talking about how like farmers now, it's not like somebody's out like picking like blueberries and things like that. They've got machinery that does it, and the people who actually handle the machinery, it's a skilled labor job. And he was talking about they get paid good money. They get paid like 25 bucks an hour. And I had to cut it off because like I felt that like even the idea that that's good money, like I couldn't even have that in my brain. And that might be offensive to somebody out there, but it's like it almost like I was like, I don't even want this suggestion in my head that that kind of way of living is acceptable. And so I had to go put on the guy, Alex Hormozy, who's over here like, gee, like I'm fucking up at 100 million. And I was like, that's what I'd rather have in my head. And I mean, it goes for everything. It goes for the mindset it is entirely how you view the world. It goes back to the beginning of the conversation with getting introduced to people who can see you show you a different way of life, a different way of living and things like that. That's a different mindset now that you have because it's different goals, different possibilities for you. So it literally is everything. It is the mindset. And if you don't have it, like you're just not going to like anything you get, it's like sand in your hands. I feel like it's just going to fall right through it.
Yeah. Circumventing identity is like, for example, let's say someone identified, which I did this in the past, you identify as a gamer, but you have these like pains in your current life. You want to be more successful. You feel like you should be more successful. But if you zoom out on the timeline, it's like, okay, well, why do you like, I need to stop playing these video games and be successful, even though I'm a gamer. Okay, well, why? Oh, so I can make a lot of money and have more freedom, have a nicer house, work less. Okay, why do you want to do that? Because then I'll be in my nice house. I'll have all the freedom to sit and play video games. And the brain, the subconscious, like, oh, you can just do that now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me get back on the game. Oh, like, oh, okay. Let me get back on the porn. Oh, okay. Let me go sleep with all these girls and just fuck around and drink like 3 days a week and everything like that.
Yeah.
Those are circumvent. So it's like having to start the identity is the prerequisite to any other outcome you want in life.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you can sit around trying to identity shift or manifest all day.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. You have to understand that I'm embarking on this journey to raise my identity and raise my outcomes in life. And you almost have to pull, even though the outcomes are going to lag, you're pulling that higher self into the now. So for example, you mentioned earlier, let me remember this clearly. You mentioned earlier something along the lines of, fuck, I'm having a brain fart. I'm going to cook it up though. Hang on. If you have anything to say while I think about it, you can.
Well, the only thing I was going to say was just for the guys out there who are new to all of this kind of stuff and like, what are they talking about with identity and stuff? Because some people really haven't even understood this concept, or they're not conscious enough of even what their identity is. They're just saying things like, I'm a this, I'm a that, and they're not even thinking about it. It's like, really, it would be wise for you to just reflect with yourself and like maybe even on a piece of paper, just be like, do I see myself as the kind of person who gets what I want? What do I want? Like kind of just start having some sort of reflective practice, because you'll start noticing like you probably like if you're working a job that pays you like 18, 20 bucks an hour, you've been working it for a couple of years or more, you're not in good shape and things like that. It's like, I promise you, your identity feels comfortable with that, or you would have changed if you've been that way for a long time. So you're comfortable in this kind of existence. And it's not your fault if you don't like it, but it's just having that awareness of like, oh, like, I might want a different life, but on another level, I'm comfortable with this because it feels familiar and this is who I am. And when we talk about identity, it's about that who I am thing and changing that. And the way you do it is first recognize who you are right now, figure out who it is you want to be, and then the gap between that is the actions that you need to change and habituate so that you can create different results in your life and become a different person.
Yes, and I caught it because you mentioned something. Circling back to what you were saying earlier about you had this idea of I'm the shit, therefore I can't put myself in situations that'll challenge the idea that I'm the shit. Maybe I'm with someone who is more intelligent than me and I have to feel like I need to do it, or I don't want to learn this, or I don't want to take this action because you think that being the shit means you have it all figured out. And the shift for me was going from that, like, oh, I'm the shit, I have it all figured out, to I'm the shit. I'm the man. I have a high self-image, not like a braggadocious way, but I'm on the right path and I am the higher version of myself because I am consistently learning more, surrounding myself with people smarter than me, challenging my beliefs, taking more action, doing the dirty work, eating the shit. And it's like I get my identity from that instead of the identity of having the outcomes or pretend LARPing as if I have it all figured out and letting my ego just put up these walls that block off anything that challenges that perspective. And like then that's the idea of I'm the shit. Like when I was in high school, if my identity was because I was bullied in high school because I was super skinny and in middle school, but I was just some skinny gamer that ate like a plate of pizza rolls every day and that was about it, right? But I remember the moment I started getting into the gym, I got this new, it wasn't game-changing confidence, but this new surface level of confidence that was slightly higher, even though, cool, I went from 100 pounds to 130 pounds and I had a little bit of newbie gains and muscle on. But when people would make fun of me for being skinny, it kind of bounced off as an insult because I knew inside, well, I'm someone who trains, I'm in the gym, I'm building muscle, I'm on the right path. Therefore, the thing they're saying isn't actually accurate because I no longer identified as a skinny person. And I think that was like where the confidence then. Whereas if I was like, oh, I don't look like Chris Bumstead yet, I just got to keep being insecure. And oh, this girl said my wrists are small. Oh, it's fucking over. I could have sat in that modality. But even then, and that was just kind of a default. I didn't consciously make that shift. But even then, that was kind of a teaser of what the lesson I'll have to learn in the future where I'm the shit because I'm reading these books, because I'm seeking out mentorships and programs and continuing to evolve content and business and all these things. Not because I'm making this amount of money or because I have this amount of subscribers or anything like that. Because the moment you start to attach that too much, it's useful here and there to like kind of grab the ego. It's like the mask with Jim Carrey. Like it's useful to put on that mask once in a while and get those powers. But if you leave it on, you can't fucking take it off. And it's really painful to try and take it off.
It's learning to identify as a lifelong learner. That's really what that is. That one's been difficult for me.
I'm a student of the game, and the student of the game is the one that wins the game. Not, oh, I'm the king of the game, I'm the champ of the game, or whatever.
The lifelong learning one hasn't been hard for me, but definitely letting go of the need to feel like it's just more comfortable. I kind of, maybe even when I was in high school, I felt like I had a group of friends where I kind of was like, I guess, doing better than them. And it was like comfortable for me in that way. And so it's always maybe been this comfort zone where like, I feel uncomfortable if I'm not in that position. And that's been one that's been hard for me to break, but that, it's not a helpful self-image. That's another part of the mindset that has to change because you'll hear it from the people that you really will respect out there. Like they don't have that. They want to surround themselves with people better than them. They want to like even they'll say about Donald Trump, like the news will make fun of like Trump doesn't do anything. He just like has all these people doing stuff. I'm like, that sounds like a great idea to me. Like he's just like surrounding himself with people who are good at what they do, puts them in position to go do it. And he just like makes quick judgment calls on things and like is up on what's going on everywhere. How can we make things happen faster? And that's his role in it. But he doesn't have, he wouldn't have let Elon Musk be a part of his thing or any of these other like competent people around him if he needed to be the guy. Like, cause Elon Musk is probably like superior to him. Certainly as a business guy, he's superior to him. And like, he's fine with that. He's like, go do your thing that you're great at, that you're better than me at. That's an important one. And it's a difficult one for some people at least to acquire, I'd say.
It was difficult for me as well with it's like the curse of the gifted kid. Because in high school, like, oh, I'm in the gifted classes. I went to algebra in middle school instead of algebra in high school. And you attach that like, oh, I'm just this gifted person and I don't have to study and I still get good grades and I'll ace my freaking AP tests without studying, things like that. And the moment you get thrown to the real world, you're fucked. Like all the kids that learn how to study in high school or learn how to study in college, they kept studying and evolved. And maybe it was just in terms of school, but even with personal development, it took me years to realize I need to pick up a book because my mind is fucked. I need to figure out psychology. I need to figure out confidence. I need to figure out speaking and all these things. But it took so long because for the longest time I was like, well, no, I'm the gifted kid. No, I'm the gifted kid. If something isn't working, then I just need to stay away from it because clearly I'm not gifted in that. I need to stay in my own little comfort zone of the things I'm inherently gifted in, and I can flex on my friends that I perceive as dumber than me, even though they excel beyond me with emotional intelligence or social intelligence. But because I was better at math than them, I can just, my ego could put on that mask of the smart kid that's higher than everyone else. And I know that not everyone like has that in terms of gifted in school, but everyone has that in some realm. Better, more fit than their friends. More, they got more girls than their friends. They were they excelled more socially, or maybe they did excel more business wise out of high school or out of college or anything. And you have to break that seal and put yourself out into places that challenges it.
But I was gonna jump off of what you were saying there at the end with the gifted kid thing. It reminds me of that topic I'd wanted to eventually make a YouTube video on, which was why being bad with women young is a blessing. Is like. It goes back again to what we were talking about with, you know, people who maybe they have the money early on because they got the mindset for that, which kind of covers up a lot of their other faults. But if you don't have that, you have to build all these other things, then you get the money and then you pass those people. It's that way with everything. It's like the gifted thing. You know, there is the whole, it's like the hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It's like if you're talented and you work hard, you're going to be amazing. You're going to be world class. That's like your LeBron Jameses, Michael Jordans, people like that. But for most people, they don't, if they have a gift, they usually just don't put any work into it. So if you don't have that gift, then you will usually pass them if you're willing to just do the work, because they'll start ahead of you, but you'll build the actual foundations to be good at the thing and you'll just take off past them. And most guys, you know, they're terrible with women young. Like we all think we're the only one who's bad with women in high school or something, but like most guys are bad with women. And
even the ones that are good with women or bad with women, they just so happen to be the quarterback of the football team. And in such a, especially if you went to a small school, that's social hierarchy that's like not even based on, it's kind of based on looks, but not even fully based on looks. These weird metrics we ascribe to people to rank them. And there's like literally like I'm sure subconsciously when I was in high school, I ranked like, okay, number one girl would be this, number two girl would be this, number one guy would be this, number two guy would be this. But then you go in the real world and most of that goes out the window. Of course, there's a couple of chads that like they continue on through college and whatnot, but I feel like even then those guys crash out eventually. They don't truly develop good with women or good with people. They just keep cashing on that talent they had off the bat. You know, like your talent in basketball could put you on varsity starting in high school. Maybe even you'll go D1, but you might go to a D2 school, and then like the other hungrier guys get on the team, and all of a sudden you're playing off the bench, and you're not even making it to the league, or you're playing in fucking Lithuania or something.
It is like all the guys I knew in high school who were like killing it with ladies have crashed out at this point. And it's the same with
pretty much. You told me a story about one of them, right?
Yeah, like I know this one guy. Yeah, he was like, I mean, he must have like a 40-50 body count by the time he got like halfway through college. You know, he was just running through.
Not saying that's good or anything, but like,
it is what it is though. Like most guys will still be like, oh, I wish I could be me, but like running through it, like having great success with that. I mean, he crashed out. I don't even know what he's doing at this point. Not doing well though. Like last I heard, I mean, he'd gone to jail for a bit. He'd done like he got into this lifestyle. He was, you know, he was broke a lot. Just like he just basically crashed his whole life out. And like he's a dramatic example of it, but there's other ones who are just like, you know, they just got some girl, got fat, and like that was their life, you know. And like it's actually having to start down is actually a benefit, because it forces you that like it gets you to where there's like there's no luck for you, or like whatever that Goggins thing, there's no luck. Is it no luck for you, Goggins, or whatever it says? Sounds like a something like that, where like there's no shortcuts for you, Goggins. That saying, like there are no shortcuts for you when you're starting at the bottom. And so you have to build the fundamentals and get the whole thing right. You know, even like it's like with boxing stuff, like too, it's actually like if you go in and you don't have any idea that you're some tough guy, then you'll just learn everything correctly and you'll build up. Whereas if you're just like, I'm the big guy who's intimidating kind of thing, it's probably you're going to have a lot more ego about it. You're probably not going to listen as much. You're going to rely on what you're naturally good at rather than becoming well-rounded. And it's like that with literally everything. So it's better to start down, do the fundamentals. It sucks for a while, but you end up winning in the end almost every single time.
There's zero, even if you do have an advantage. It's one of those things. If you have an advantage, exploit it, but still you can't believe that, oh, I have this advantage, things are just going to come, I'm lucky, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to find a shortcut. Because someone who has zero of those advantages, which everyone has things they are more inclined to, everyone has some kind of skills or talents. Like some people are better at math, some people are just really good at music right off rip, they can pick up an instrument, play well, things like that. But to believe that luck doesn't exist, there's no shortcuts, I'm going to have to do this the long way, the hard way, I'm going to have to eat shit. I made the most progress in my life when I realized, oh, I'm going to have to eat shit for probably over a year before I see anything. Yeah. And it was just okay. Yeah. But might as well start eating it now. I don't want to eat it later.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get it over with. Yeah.
But then it makes it almost undeniable. It makes it almost guaranteed, regardless of where you're at. Whereas the people, some people, they'll believe that, oh, I can take these shortcuts. Oh, I'm lucky. Oh, I'm talented, whatever. And some of them, they will get to some level of success. A lot of them won't get where they truly desire being in their life. But everyone that doesn't accept any of that as reality and truly just goes, it's just probability. I can't control my starting point, but I can increase my probability. Therefore, if all I do is keep increasing my probability of reaching the desired outcomes in my life, and it's just a matter of I don't stop. Yeah. And I maximize all of my cognitive, time, even financial, focus, real estate, and assets towards that, the result, which everyone's timelines are different, but the result itself is in theory guaranteed. Which I hate saying. Like, I don't want to say guaranteed because people crash out, people fuck up, but that's on you. Like you stopped doing it, or you did the wrong things because you weren't properly learning.
Yeah, if you do the right things, barring some epic catastrophe, it's guaranteed. Yeah, it is. Like, it's just like if you go talk to 1,000 people to try and sell something, it's basically guaranteed somebody will buy it. If you talk to 1,000 women, even if you were just like, will you come fuck me? Like, somebody might just say yes. Like, it is like, if you just do something, it's probably like it goes back to your probability thing. It's like, okay, what would tip the probability in my favor in these kinds of situations? And then you do get to a point where, in a probability case, let's say you talk to let's say you were a virgin, you wanted to have sex with a girl for the first time. If you talk to every single woman on the planet, have you increased the probability enough that it's basically a guarantee somebody will do it?
And by your 100th person you speak to, you'll be a lot better at it than the first time. And by your 1,000th or 10,000th, you're reaching like mastery compared to the average man. Yeah. So even then, it's not. Even though it's good to like go and think, okay, if I talk to the 4 billion women, this is a crazy example that's not rooted in reality. But even if you go in thinking, all right, I'm going to talk to 4 billion women, by your 10,000th woman, you'll be pretty damn good at talking to women. Yeah,
you'll be amazing at it. Yeah.
And then you can sell a course on it online to 16-year-old kids. Yeah. This is a short blip, but this ties in a lot to people who consume content, they get bursts of motivation, but they don't understand why they can't stick with it. And I have this idea, it's because they consciously write checks that their subconscious can't cash. So consciously, in that current moment, they just watched a Goggins video, they just watched Inspired by Florian video, it's like the motivational music in the back, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, or oh, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 5, or oh, I'm going to go talk to these girls, or oh, I'm going to make that video, I'm going to start that YouTube channel, oh, I'm going to start that business. Consciously, in that moment, in their consciousness, that is a reality that they just committed to, but their subconscious can't cash that check because the identity is like an anchor that is so much lower. You understand what I'm saying with that? Because we all commit to things and don't fucking do it. Yeah, I do. In that moment that we commit, we believe it. Most of the time. Some people don't, and they're lying to themselves, and that's like an ego thing, but there's a lot of times where we say we're going to do something, we genuinely believe it consciously, and then it doesn't manifest. It doesn't manifest in reality. Because your identity is off.
What's the workaround then in those situations? How do you get yourself to commit to it on a how do you get your subconscious to write the check or cash the check?
It probably goes back to the self-image thing, but beyond that, earlier you said something that I completely agree with, is that wisdom is more valuable than information. And I remember when I used to pray, and I would pray a little selfishly, but it was the two things I would always ask for from God, like, please bless me with wisdom and clarity. Wisdom and clarity. If I just have wisdom and clarity, I can move mountains. I can achieve whatever I want. So one of those things might be in order to, and this is kind of a workaround with the subconscious and identity, is just if you can continue to reintroduce that clarity, it's kind of like reshifting back into that original state of consciousness you were in when you made that commitment or said you wanted to do that thing or set that goal. Over time, though, those actions actually from the clarity, now that I say this out loud, I'm getting it, those actions will start to rewrite the script or the program or the code of your subconscious, and your identity is going to move up. Now, is there ways to shift your identity faster? Can you, like, I know you've spoken on this and maybe you could harp on a little bit, but can you kind of take some of your limiting beliefs and do which it was a behavioral therapy that you mentioned.
REBT.
You could REBT around some of those. Yes. Could you start to write out this vision of the future and the desired outcome and like picture this higher version of yourself and introduce the concept of that to your subconscious, even though it's not going to take it right away because your current self-image doesn't want to go away. It's going to fight like hell to keep you in the current self. You can do that. It's probably a combination of all those things, honestly.
And when you're talking about clarity, what do you mean by clarity in this sense?
You're consciously deciding to embark on a path, but it's like this it's like a dirt path. There's leaves and sticks on it. There's trees around. It's very easy to veer off the path. Mm-hmm. And the only way to ensure you're on the right path is to get this top-down view and realize, oh, okay, no, I can see the path in the right direction. But if you just stay down there and continue walking from first-person view through the woods, you're just going to veer off and get lost again.
So when the people are in clarity, they are writing checks consciously that their subconscious can't cash because they lose the clarity.
I see it more as you're stepping back into the conscious state. Mm-hmm. That's why I said it's kind of a workaround temporarily, especially when you're first starting with the subconscious. Because typically what happens is we're conscious, we're mindful, we're in the present moment, we're motivated, we decide to do something because we are now consciously aware of the current pain. It's almost always pain. Like, yeah, we have desired outcomes, but a lot of that is escaping the current pain we're in. Maybe that's a bad relationship. Maybe that's you look like shit. Maybe that's you feel like shit. Maybe that's you're depressed. Maybe that's you're in a job you don't want. You don't make enough money you want. You don't live in the place you want to live. Anything like that, that current pain point. But that's because you brought it into the conscious awareness. But over time, you check the news, you scroll on reels, you have a conversation with your friend that's in a similar situation. You'll just start getting in this loop of complaining about the current state you're in. And it muddies the water of your consciousness. Mm-hmm. Whereas reintroducing clarity is reminding you of that original why. And it's one of those things where if you look back and see the direction of the enemy chasing you, you know the general direction you should be running towards. Whereas if you forget about that enemy, you may start veering to the left, and before you know it, the enemy catches back up, and you get in another situation where, fuck, I just relapsed again. Fuck, I barely made rent this month. Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to make this rent this month. I gotta ask a friend to borrow money, something like that. And it's like, how many times are you gonna get punched in the dick by the enemy before you were like, okay, I'm gonna keep running in this direction? Yeah. Because the subconscious is literally trying to pull you off that path at first. But if you, over time, you keep kind of zooming back out and gaining clarity while staying on the right path, then it's like, oh, I am someone that walks this path. And the subconscious starts to buy into that more and more as you continue fighting the resistance to veer off the path because you're maintaining clarity. And over time, the subconscious becomes more and more on your side where it's like, okay, this is the direction we're going. And there's this alignment with the clarity and the subconscious and the why and all this stuff. And you continue moving with that. I don't think there's any, I mean, like, this is stuff I teach in my content and in the mental mastery and whatnot, but even there, like, there's no, you go to, like, there are little ways to hypnotize yourself and it will result in, like, quick results. Like, I've done little 20-minute confidence hypnosis things and then went to a social setting. I was noticeably different, you know, and how much of that was, like, truly reprogramming it, how much of that was, like, introduced, like, shifting to another state of consciousness, which is what I can perceive, not what's internal and the avenues of my mind that I can't see that aren't conscious. They're like automated. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to like grasp a little bit more. It's like I've known that I know it because I've done the things, but to define it to someone who hasn't been through the shit or hasn't tried it, it's hard to say exactly what you should do. But it's one of those things, and that's why what I typically prescribe first off is you have a desired outcome, and part of that desired outcome may be escaping the pain. Part of that may be I want to drive that car and have this quality woman, and I have this much money in my bank account, and retire my mother, and my kids are good. They can go to whatever school they want, private school. I can tutor them, whatever. I have the penthouse in Miami, or I have the ranch with the cows or whatever. And you write that out, and over time it gets more and more clear, and you have this literal image in your mind that you'll visualize, and the subconscious doesn't know what's imagined and what's real. So it's introducing that and like throwing that experience in there, even though there's an amalgamation of bad experiences in the cauldron as well that are going to dilute it, but you keep doing it over and over and over. And with that, you gain some aspects of clarity purely through that. And if you do it every day and you reread it and revisualize it, that helps. And then through the clarity, because there was times where I would get temporary bursts of clarity. I may meditate, remind myself what I'm doing, and I get temporary clarity, and I do an hour of like truly deep flow state productive work and get a result out of it. And then that real experience also goes into my subconscious and helps rewrite it to escape that current version. And then the other aspect would be the negative visualization, is like visualizing kind of what you're running from, how bad that would be, how much that would suck, because the mouse runs faster from a cat than running towards cheese. And so like typically it's like, maybe on a multi-decade time horizon, should you keep reintroducing that pain into your mind? Maybe not, but for like the first 10 plus years, it's pretty fucking useful, and I still do it. You know?
I feel like it's just another way of just saying, like, you got to raise your standard. From with the psycho-cybernetics book, we're talking about, you know, raising that cybernetic system in our brain, the inner thermostat. And it's just something that it can be done quicker or slower, but it's you're resisting against the natural human impulse, I guess, to be lazy. I don't even know if it's natural, but the evolutionary psychologist, biologist would say, like, we're trying to preserve energy, and that's why we don't want to act anymore unless we have to out of pain and things like that. But like, I can know, you know, my discipline, my baseline for discipline just rises over time to where things that was like, oh, that was a good day back then is now a horrible day for me, where I was just way off and things like that. And writing those checks that your subconscious can't cash, a lot of that has to do with, they just, you know, they'll start, because a lot of times they might be like, you know what, I'm going to do this thing for 30 days. Maybe they heard us start with the 12 by 30 and they're like, I want to work that hard. They'll do it for 2 or 3 days, and then they'll, well, today, you know, like that thing, I'll count it as work, even though it didn't work. And now it's like, and then the next day it's like, well, really, do I need to do 12? Because I did it all in 10. And you know, like, they'll start doing that, and you start making these excuses with yourself. And like, most of that is really just your subconscious not being at that standard yet. And it just takes a lot of energy to bring it up there. It just seems like, for me, it's,
do you feel like it stays there, or you feel like it could regress? Because I would argue that if you lose clarity, the baseline of discipline will start to lower, because you no longer understand why that baseline was required in the first place. Like, your why got blurry. Is there a certain level where you get to, I just do this because it's what I do? Yes. But I think the majority of people aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, you need the clarity until you get there, for sure. Yeah, but like, there are things where I'd say I've gotten there for the most part, to where I can just kind of hold it at a pretty high level. Yeah,
because now you can write the checks that your subconscious can cash.
Yeah. And that's what I was just getting to, of like, raising that cybernetic system, that's raising the subconscious so that it can cash the check. And the way, I was just thinking about how I do that, how I've been able to do that. Like, I think I did it somewhat during the 12 by 30 and getting my work ethic even higher. And a lot of it for me was that kind of Andrew Tate being a sayer thing. Like, that was one I just have been really focused on training into my brain to call myself, like, if I say I'm going to do it, it's going to be done. And so, like, even right off the bat, getting sick the very first day of the 12 by 30 and couldn't sleep and all this shit. And like, my mind's immediately like, hey, like, let's not worry about this kind of thing. And I was like, no, like I said, I was going to do it, and forcing myself to do it anyways. It really, it honestly ended up being a good thing, I think, because it forced my subconscious to really elevate and like follow through on what I said I was going to do, and boosting that self-image of, I'm the kind of person who does what I say I'm going to do, and things like that. And that one's a good one as well, because if you can, it's almost like a workaround for all the other ones. If you can get it into your head that if you say it's going to happen, it's going to happen, because then it's like your conscious mind cashed the check, and your subconscious mind your conscious mind wrote the check. Your subconscious is cashing it almost out of a different bank account, which is the I do what the fuck I say I'm going to do bank account. Yeah. And then it forces the rest of it to kind of just happen.
You would be to say you're going to do something and do it, and you can start small. That's why, and it's like overdone. But Peterson's like, just make your bed, then clean your room and stuff. But each time you're doing that, you're casting a ballot in the voting box that you are the higher self. And every time you don't, you're putting a ballot in the other box of like the shitty version of yourself. And it's, you know, like I'm a sayer. What is that? That's an identity. What is the identity? It's the steersman of what you said earlier, the cybernetic principles. Because the cybernetic mechanisms is like code in a computer. It doesn't matter. The code is impartial. It doesn't have any sense of morality. It doesn't have any sense of reality. It doesn't have any sense of anything. But the person who wrote the code can. You know, and that would be the self-image. Like if your subconscious is a ship, the self-image is the one steering it, and our conscious mind is kind of like this snail also on the ship. But like you have to leverage the snail to like whisper into the ear of the steersman to get him to turn the boat around. Otherwise, you're a snail on a ship, and you're really slithering south. You really want to go south, and the boat's going west or east or north, and you can't do anything about it because you're just a fucking snail, you know, compared to the motion of the boat. But yeah, that is kind of a cheat code for identity and self-hypnosis, is just saying you're going to do something and doing it. People are like, oh, but that's so hard. And it's like, it is, but also it means just instead of worrying about doing the things you say you're going to do, stop saying you're going to do things that you're not 100% certain you're going to do, and just start from zero again and focus from going from 0 to 1. Because you're at 0 and you're trying to go from 5 to 10. It's like, no, go from 0 to 1. Instead of saying, how would you do that? Instead of saying, I'm never going to watch porn again, you know, because you might relapse. Say like, today I'm not going to watch porn. Something like that. Or what would be an example of what's something that people commonly promise themselves and fall through on that they would be better off if they just didn't promise it to themselves or say they were going to do?
It's like dramatic things. So I was thinking the big thing about this whole, like, I'm going to keep my word to myself, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, is people, this is where the Peterson thing comes in with making the bed, is like people don't have the humility to realize just how fucked they are. And so they think they can tackle things way bigger than they really can. Yeah. And so when the checks people try to write that they can't cash, it's more extreme versions of what they should really be focusing on. So it's like, you know what? It's like, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I'm gonna follow a diet all year this year. I'm gonna be jacked and all this shit. It's like, how about, like, considering you haven't followed a diet in your life, how about we start with like, today you're not gonna eat trash, and then you know, I'm gonna get up to my alarm, considering you're not doing that, rather than I'm gonna be a millionaire. How about, like, let's just get up to the alarm? Or when we get back home from work, let's not eat trash food, jerk off, and watch a podcast on like Theo Vaughn or some shit. I like Theo Vaughn, but like, why don't we take that stuff off and focus on a business? You know? So it's like the Carl Jung thing where he said modern men don't see heaven because they don't look low enough. They don't have the humility to look at the opportunities right in front of them to get better. That's the check. That's the places where people make promises they can't keep. Is their reach is way bigger than they realize it should be. Yeah, it's hubris. That's like the idea that's really been helping me a lot, helped me gain clarity, was always better over best. Never go for best. Always just go for better. Because like, you see someone and he's on this 20-foot high tower he built, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be there. Guys, I'm going 20 feet. And you walk, like, you sprint, you're sprinting towards the tower, you jump and you just fall flat on your face, and your face hits the fucking pavement, because you try to go from 0 to 100. You try to go straight to best. Whereas like, okay, I'd like to get there someday. I want to get better right now. What can I do? Well, I have this 1 foot by 1 foot block. I'm going to place that down. Okay, now let's place 2 in front of it. Okay, now let's place 3 in front of it. Better. And it's like literally a staircase to the best, or whatever best is, which idea, like in theory, everything we're talking about is infinite games. There is no best, but we have this
the hubris of thinking I want to get to this fucking 20-foot tower and thinking you just run and jump up there. When it's, it's placing the blocks. It's always better over best. And I have to tell that I was a perfectionist with content, and it would lead to me taking 10 plus days to put out a video, or overthink it to the point where I don't even put it out because, well, if it's not the best, then I'm not even going to upload it. I'm not even going to, oh, well, if my landing page or if my business model right now isn't the best, well, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to keep watching videos. I'm going to keep acquiring knowledge.
Yeah.
But if I was like, well, this video is better than my last upload. Yeah, it's like 90% done, but it would take me twice the amount of time to get it to 100%, and 100% might not even be possible. I'm just going to upload it. Better over best.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been with like the different career stuff I'm working on, and just kind of like even having to ask myself what's within reach immediately for me. Because like, you know, I have this big income month in January, and all of a sudden like my mind jumps like 2 years in advance to like, there's no reason I couldn't just make $250,000 a month now. Like I know it and all this stuff. And then realizing it's like, maybe even like, you know, I've beaten a lot of the basic stuff that's like, okay, let's get these fundamentals down, but maybe I'm not quite at the level where that's the thing I should be reaching for yet. Maybe I should reach for like, let's stabilize it, you know, like 30K a month or something like that. Then let's make the next jump up from there. And even having to ask myself, like, where's the best, because like I could try and cash that check for myself and end up crashing out on other things because I do it too quickly, or you know, I've violate my own sayer principle because I'm like, yeah, by the end of the year I'll get this done. And that was one I used to do all the time, was like I would have every year I would have these huge goals, and then get to the end and just be like, oh yeah, like, okay, let's do it again. Like set the big goal as if nothing ever happened. I'm like, I don't want to get to the end of the year and look and be like, I didn't achieve the thing I said I was going to achieve. I want to set a big goal that's difficult, but it's like the right goal that I know is actually the one I can take on.
That's a lesson we've had to learn.
Yeah.
At least for me, and I'm sure it's similar for you. Like I've had to learn that the past like 3, 4, 5, 6 fucking years.
Yeah.
At the end of every single year, it's nearing December. Maybe I'm even with my family for the holidays, and I just have a brief moment of clarity, of self-awareness, and thinking like, I didn't get the subscribers I wanted. I'm not making the money I wanted. I didn't help as many people I wanted. I'm not living in the place I wanted to live. Okay, well, we'll do it next year. Like that it sounds so silly. Like, I'm gonna do the exact same. It's the fucking, you know what the definition of insanity is?
Yeah.
You know, it's literally that quote.
And then the harder one, even on top of that, is reflecting and be like, did I even make any progress?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe a little, but it's like maybe if I hadn't been so, maybe if I took my eye off this thing that's clearly not within reach yet, put it on the thing that is within reach, maybe I could have made a lot more progress on that thing because I was focused on the right thing.
I'd get to the end of the year and realize I needed to 10x.
Yeah.
And I 1.5x and celebrated that 50% increase.
Yeah.
That was it. And I was like relishing in that 50% increase I had. And I was like, oh no, I needed to 10x to get the outcomes I desired.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it.
Yeah. It's like, I guess, you know, if you're somebody who's out there and you're like still watching porn or still eating like shit and all this kind of stuff, it's like you could ignore all those issues and try and chase some big thing up here. But it's like you'll get a lot closer to the thing you want in the long run just by fixing all that other shit. And like you'll be surprised how many other things will start to fall into place when you do that, and how many other doors will open up for you. Like, you know, like this was a lesson I had to learn in making money was, you know, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and stuff, but like you're trying to figure that shit out in your early 20s. I drive Uber. Huh?
I drive Uber. I'm an entrepreneur now.
Yeah. So I tried to start multiple like businesses and things, and it just wasn't working out. I'm like broke all the time and stuff. And like I would refuse to get any kind of job because I was like, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. This is just taking me in the wrong direction and all this kind of stuff. Not realizing like I finally had to like humble myself and be like, fuck, I have to make consistent money. So I go get this job, and suddenly just the fact that I have surplus income coming in every month allows me to elevate pretty much every other area of my life learn skills, invest in things, save the money that allows me to go across the country, learn more about business, quit my job and start and get officially back to doing business full time. It's like if I hadn't made that step, which was the one I had to take, I would have just been floundering even longer because I was stuck. And you get that one step and it opens up the whole map to you more. And then you can take the next one. And that's like where people, it's like the perfect is the enemy of the good, I guess. And like you were saying, better over best. And
you wanted to jump on the 20-foot thing.
Yeah.
You were trying to, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to try to, it's almost like mentally, because your ego, you think you're already on the 20-foot thing. You're like, oh, I can just hop step and I'm on this other platform I want to be on. Yeah. And then in reality, you're way down here, so you're just jumping and falling on your face over and over and over. When it's like, and you're like, and because mentally you think you're up here, the idea of getting a stable income, that 1 foot by 1 foot box looks like a drop. Yeah. And in reality, it's a step up. Yeah. This goes back to also what we were talking about with everything is mindset. This is a mindset that you just have to figure out through life experience. Everyone download this right now.
Yeah, everyone download. It's like, I promise you, most of the people watching this, if you're watching this, you probably have some big goal that you just are not ready to get yet. And you are paralyzed in your life, not taking the next step because it's not exactly what you want. And so many people do that. And I mean, at least I know I did. And I know a lot of people seem like they struggle with that. It's just like, I probably could have made progress like a year or two quicker. I could probably be a year or two ahead right now if I had just in my early 20s when I was flat broke, rather than trying to like hustle and come up with the next business idea that I wasn't ready to take on. If I had just gone and gotten stable income and then reinvested it into that and invested in my personal growth, because personal growth costs money. And if you're out there and you're thinking that this is like contradictory to what we were saying earlier about like 9-to-5 jobs and these kinds of things, I have no problem with a 9-to-5 job as a stepping stone. I just don't. It's a lily pad, yeah, it's a lily pad. I just don't view it as the final destination because it can't get you to a really high place in life. But it's most of you watching, including me at the time, and really still, I don't feel like I am at that high of a place in life. It's like you have to like play where you're at, like use the tools in front of you to get to those next levels. You have to earn the right. Like we were talking this, like the early game of business is basically like a trial run to see if you even get to play the real game. It's like, can you survive this like grueling part at the beginning, figure enough out to get yourself into the actual game? And like most of us are in that trial period. It's like, are you even worthy of playing the game? So stop thinking about how you're going to invest stocks, I'm going to get rich off stocks. Like you have $100. You're fucked.
The only people that get rich off stocks are teaching other people how to get rich off stocks.
Yeah.
There's outliers, but 99.9% of the time, unless you bought like Nvidia or Bitcoin or Tesla super early.
Either that or you have huge capital.
Oh, dude, I 50x my $100. $5,000?
Yeah, that's not even that good. Yeah. Yeah, and then what are the odds you're going to do it again and again and again? Very low. Yeah.
Just gambling.
Yeah.
Like once you get into the crypto world, it's just gambling. And this is similar to the idea of like people who do best over better, and also what you just said about the tutorial. You go a lot further spending a year building a car than the guy that immediately started sprinting at the gun. It's like the tortoise and the hare, but the tortoise built a fucking rocket the first couple like hours or whatever.
I think that's an interesting one because it's true, but it also can be misinterpreted by the people who don't want to take action and want to just spend all this time consuming. So in order to take that approach to things, you have to be self-aware enough to know if you're mentally masturbating or if you're actually planning.
And what is building self-awareness? It's putting the wheel on the car that you have to have, or throwing the engine in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, it's definitely true because you could be running in the completely wrong direction. You could be doing all that kind of stuff. It just comes down to it's almost like, okay, you get the car built, but then some people sit there and like, yeah, but I'm going to put this paint decal on it now. And it's like, yeah, but I'm going to do this. Yeah, but I'm going to do. It's like you still haven't started the engine yet. Like drive the car. Like, okay, you know what I mean? That's where that gets people fuck up with that one. And it does make me think a lot of people, if you've watched content for 6 months on self-improvement of any kind and your life has not radically improved, it's because you're mentally masturbating.
Yeah, you didn't build the car. You were just like staring at the blueprints and like thinking about building the car.
Yeah. Even if you watched a fucking Ali Abdaal video, you could still improve yourself. Yeah. Seriously, like you could still go watch Ali Abdaal's productivity hacks and get better at your career. It's like if you did something with it. So like if your life's not changing, then you aren't applying anything you're learning. That's the applied knowledge will change things, obviously. Otherwise you didn't learn. It's like like Hormozi's talking about, like how he defines intelligence based on like rate of behavior change. Right. So you learn something, how quickly do you change? If you've learned for 6 months and haven't changed anything, you're an idiot by definition. It's like you have wasted 6 months. Congrats. You know, like it's yeah. So that's that. Yeah.
Something I see a lot. I just had a conversation with this in the Mental Mastery Discord, and I get comments about it a lot because my content will talk about a why, like a core why, a core reason, and it doesn't surprise me because I didn't have a crazy one right off rip. Like I said, a lot of people they're not in the streets, or their mom gets terminally ill and they got to make some money, or their girl leaves them and they're home, like all these different things that forces them to change. So I see all these people that are just like, well, how do I get a why? What is the why? Because they think that if they get this why, they suddenly have an infinite energy source of motivation.
Yeah.
And I wrote this down. It was similar. It's foolish to worry about the meaning of life or your purpose or your why when you're facing money issues. Develop skills that provide value to the world. The world responds with money. You store this money until one day you have the level of freedom you desire. From thence, you may begin the process of actualization. So it's one of those things where everyone's looking for the universe to deliver them this divine why, this divine purpose. And once I manifest this purpose or this why, and I meditate on it so long, and I journal about it for 300 days straight, then I will have the motivation to clean my apartment.
Yeah, for real. Even that's like a mindset thing too. It's like they haven't realized, like, because they're still at the core of that is a need for motivation. Right. So they need the why to motivate them to do something, whereas like you should just do the thing.
And the perspective, because I'll look at someone's life and I'm like, oh, they're jerking off 5 times a day. They play video games for 8 hours a day. Girls won't bat it. They almost have zero chance of reproducing, let alone with someone with like decent quality genes and like a mentally sound partner and all these things. Yeah. Their parents are only getting older and they still live with them. They don't know what the fuck they're going to do when the parents pass. And I'm like, I see all the whys. And they're like, what's my why? I just don't understand. You know, they think that they need some divine purpose.
Yeah.
And that's also, there's a ability in that to kind of alchemy, you know, take these current base materials you have and turn it into gold of a solid why. They don't know how to do that. They want someone to walk up and hand them the gold, hand them the why. But if someone else hands you the why, that's not actually your why.
Yeah.
You know, because there's been points in time where I consume, maybe you watch a lot of Andrew Tate and he convinces you that you should work hard to get all these women. Or you watch another creator that you should work hard because God, or you should work hard because this, that, and the other. And they'll like try and they're just like, why is this like, I'm just not compelled enough. Why is this not working? Like, yeah, because you need someone to prescribe you a why, prescribe you a reason. I can only tell you how to alchemize it. I can't do the process for you with my own resources over here. It's like, no, you have the bare resources that you need to alchemize with over there. And I can't touch them, because if I touch them and they turn to gold, it's gold for me. It's not gold for you. Because I see someone who plays video games 8 hours a day and jerks off and stuff, and I was there at one point, and I want to sprint in the other direction full speed. I'm terrified of that. But they're not, because they're just sitting in it.
It's kind of like the inverse of what we were talking about with like people having too big of goals. The why is like them looking for too big of a problem to solve. It's like
thinking you have to have that to solve a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, what, are you too good enough for the fact that you fucking beat off 4 times a day? Are you too good for the fact that you play video games 8 hours a day?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and even if beneath that, it's like, are you too good for the fact that you don't have?
It almost all circles back to hubris and ego. In a way.
Yeah, they're not looking. It's the same way that they think they can go after bigger goals than they really can. They think they need bigger problems to solve than they really do. It's like it's right in front of you. It's like you have no meaning in your life. Because you work a job you don't care about. You aren't proud when you look in the mirror. You're like. I mean, even worse, like you were talking about, you're jerking off all the time, or you're playing video games, you're wasting your life. You have no quality friendships in your life. The people, they're all shallow relationships because none of you have really developed yourself at all enough to the point where you could have quality friendships. Your apartment is a joke. You're embarrassed of where you live. Your mother is still working a job and like she doesn't like, and you're not making any money, so you can't take care of it. It's like, it's all right in front of you. And it's just, they want this divine thing. They want to be like savior of the universe. It's like, save your fucking self first. And they haven't done that. And
the most selfless thing you can do is be selfish initially, because you're not going to help anyone when you're a train wreck. You're going to pull other people down with you. Yeah. You're like this car out of control, and you're just going to run over people and trash everything in your path. Instead of just hitting the fucking brakes. Yeah. It's like
I find it funny when I'll hear somebody, just because everybody loves to give their like, I know how the world works political opinion. Yeah. And I'm like, you're fat, broke. I hear you talk on a daily basis. You have no like original thoughts in your head. Like how about you think you can solve the world's problems? It is a hubris thing. It all does come back to this hubris. Everybody, and especially with the internet, I guess, has given people this sense of entitlement to have an opinion about big issues because they're available for them. And like, in a lot of ways, I guess, great opportunity is presented to people, and so they feel entitled to it, or they feel entitled to, this person's curing world hunger, this person's doing this thing, this person's built this cool business. It's like, where's my big why? They feel entitled to this stuff. It's like, this is earned.
Yeah. Earn your why, motherfucker.
Yeah, seriously, you have to. It's like,
earn your altruism. Like, you can't even be altruistic right now. It's one of those things where one of my big goals is like retiring my mother, just because it's my mom. She had me at 16, single mother. Like, I just think that'd be cool. And like, there's probably a selfish intent with that too, because I could be the guy that retires mom, but also the idea that she can retire and raise my younger brothers more effectively and whatnot. Yeah. But I'm fully aware that until that point, it's actually bad for me to, we don't have that kind of relationship, but if I spent 4 hours a day just talking to her on the phone. Yeah. Like, but I'm talking to my mom. I'm a family guy. It helps. No. I need to put my phone in another room and sit at my laptop and work and figure things out. Yeah. And in a long enough time period, that's the most altruistic thing I can do, because I zoom out on the timeline. Most of us don't zoom out. Circling back to the why, I kind of just had the insight on this, is for anyone struggling with a why. And if you don't agree, like, let me know if there's something I'm missing. But for me, I'm just circling back to my issues. Like, I was jerking off multiple times a day. I was playing video games, and then I quit video games, and then I went back into video games and back into porn and all these things for a period. And to find my why and to get in touch with what we were referencing earlier, like the pain to push you in the opposite direction, is that I needed a certain level of self-awareness. So all these people that are like, where's my why? Like, they're so blinded by their ego and hubris, even though for us looking, because we're at higher levels of awareness, especially when you observe someone that's not you, because you don't have any of your cognitive dissonance, is that they need to actively work before anything else to increase their levels of awareness and increase their levels of self-awareness. And that may be just sitting down, taking stock in a journal. That may be sitting, meditating, being with your thoughts. It's the fucking, who said the quote that all of man's problems stem from man's inability to sit in a room alone with his thoughts?
I don't know who said it, but I know the quote.
Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, that is kind of source. Like, I can't think of, because I was meditating before I knew about self-improvement or anything, for very shallow reasons. But that was the gateway to discover. I would meditate, and then I emerge, and then I kind of be like, oh, yeah, I had this repeating thought that was causing me pain, that instead of like blanketing it with reels or porn or video games or hanging out with friends, I had to face it. Oh, that is actually pretty painful. Okay, well, what actions would I take to move away? All of a sudden, you have a why.
Mm-hmm.
You just alchemized a why out of your current situation.
Yeah.
So if you're truly in the mud, if you're truly at the start, you need that level of self-awareness. I was in a call a while back back when I did my mental mastery calls with the students, and I remember because he was trying to go from maybe 0 to 10 when he needed to go from 0 to 1. So he asked me, "Oh, Kenny, I was wondering, what is your morning routine or your nightly routine or your sleep routine? Because I want to start waking up early." And I almost dove into like, oh yeah, I take these supplements, and then I do the cold shower and all this. And I caught myself and I paused. And I said, "Why do you want to wake up early?"
Mm-hmm.
And he paused and he was like, "Well, because it's a productive thing to do." I was like, right, but why do you want to be productive? And he just like froze. He had no answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, instead of worrying about waking up early, you need to figure out why would you even want to wake up early? What are you trying to escape right now that waking up early will grant you access to? Because ultimately, waking up early is not the magic solution to you being a millionaire and you get all the girls and the money or whatever you want to desire. You get closer to God, whatever your outcome is that you desire in life. But clearly, something within you knows that waking up early is a factor in becoming a certain version of yourself that will achieve a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, go back to the source, like, why do you want to wake up early, and like meditate on that, journal about it, question it, because if you don't have a concrete reason for that, you won't wake up early. Like the easiest way to wake up early is just having a good reason to wake up early. There's no other thing around it, because you're going to wake up and you're going to feel tired because you haven't fully woken up yet. You need to go out and look at the sunlight. You may need to splash cold water, take a cold shower. You may need to get a meal in. You may need to work out, something like that. But if you have a strong enough why, like when we started the 12 by 30, I had a pretty good reason to not go back to bed, right? So I was tossing and turning most of the night, and instead of waking up at 6, I woke up at 5 a.m., went to the bathroom, and I checked the phone. I was like, oh, might as well get started now. Okay, let's start the 12 by 30. I had a purpose behind it, so waking up early was easy. And all the times that I would hit snooze, and I would like set my alarm for 7 and sleep until 9 a.m. and then like feel depressed all day because I'm like, oh, I wasted the day. I was upset that I wasted the day, but I couldn't tell you why I was upset that I wasted the day. Because I didn't have the why. I just felt like, oh, I need to be doing this thing because self-improvement guru 47 told me to wake up early. So that's actually it. It's raising your level of awareness in your current situation before you even worry about going to all those things. And like, I don't know if that's the 0 to 1 or if that's even just giving yourself the ability to step up on that first step of the staircase. Because right now your legs are fully immobilized.
Yeah, I made a video a while back about how to wake up early, actually, and I think I opened it with a strong sense of purpose is the ultimate 5 a.m. alarm clock. Because I don't, it's been years since I really struggled with that one, and I don't know, I think I've always naturally been kind of a morning person anyways, but yeah, I can imagine, though, if you don't, I mean, there's other things I've struggled with more than other people. It's like, until you find the why to quit, then yeah, it is difficult, which I guess almost comes back.
People will wake up for their 9 to 5.
Yeah,
they could stay out late and fall asleep at 3 a.m. and they will wake up at 8 a.m. to make it to their job at 9 a.m. because they need to survive, because they need to make money for groceries and their rent, because that covers the basics of the hierarchy of needs. So it's like, no, you have no problem actually waking up at the time you set the alarm for this job, but all of a sudden it's the weekend and you're sleeping till 1 p.m.
So you'll do it for a boss, but not for yourself.
Yeah. You'll do it for someone else.
Yeah.
But not for yourself.
Yeah, that's it. So, and the reason being for that is because they understand clearly the pain of not doing it for the boss. They don't understand the pain of not doing it for themselves. So,
because their awareness is too low.
Their awareness is too low. They don't have a vision of who they want to be in life. And so I guess it comes back to that. Maybe that's even a solution to the why issue for people, is like, you should really sit down and be like, who the fuck do you want to be? Yeah. The why is not going to fall on you like pixie dust. It's like,
you create it.
I think the easiest way is really just to look at the shit you're fucking up right now that you know you're fucking up, fix that. That'll make you feel better. But on the flip side, if you want to, we were talking about the mouse and the cheese things, like a mouse, if it's got the cat chasing it, that's the equivalent of the fear. It'll run faster from the fear than if it's got the cheese in front of it, which is the pleasure, the pleasure, outcome, whatever. But if you can do both, which would be, okay, I know the shit I'm fucking up. That's the cat. Now, who do I want to be? That's your cheese. You get both of them going. you're going to work the hardest you possibly can. That's the ultimate motivation. So maybe that's the solution for you out there. If you're like, I don't know, I don't have motivation, all this kind of crap. And maybe even with the motivation thing, if you're at that low of a level of awareness, or maybe you're that low on the, like, starting on this journey of real self-improvement, it's like, maybe you do need some motivation until discipline develops more and more. So like, you have to, like, because at this point I really don't have to rely on motivation at all to take action. But I mean, there was a time when it helped, I suppose.
Goggins got a lot of people to run.
Yeah, Goggins got a lot of people to run. So yeah, I mean, create that why for yourself with the cheese, with the cat, and knowing who you, like, I got to get away from this stuff. I want to go towards this stuff. That should be plenty. And if you still let yourself down, I would say that at that point, it's not about more motivation. It's about, you need to develop the trait of discipline.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.